Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Baum. Here. Camper. Freeman. Here. Gant. Here. Hawk. Here. Hazelwood. Lynn. Ogles. Here. Todd. Here. Whitson. Here. Williams. Here. Wendell. Chairman Hicks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee for January the 26th, 2022. Before we begin, members, any personal orders this morning? All right, seeing none. I'd like to begin by welcoming everyone to the Finance, Ways and Means Subcommittee. I look forward to working with everyone here in the second year of the 112th General Assembly, especially as it pertains to this particular committee. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity to work with the members and the staff of this committee as we work through legislation that finds their ways onto our calendar. I'd like to introduce our committee staff. First, we have Legislative Budget Director Jessica Himes, which is down in front here. Also, Fiscal Review Director Krista Lee Karsner, also to my left. Attorneys Joel Hayes, Doug Garrett, Anastasia Campbell. So we welcome them. Administrative Assistant to my left, Kara McMahon. Research Analyst to my right, Mirna Tunich, and Tanner Poss. So we thank you all as well. Intern this year, Sherry Gerges from Vanderbilt University. House Clerk will be Jordan Nickel. Library and Archives there in the back will be Will Thomas, who is assigned to this particular committee. And Sergeant at Arms is Tony Townsend. So we thank him for being here as well. Together we make an outstanding team, and I look forward to working with each of you. Also, just want to give just a quick bit of information regarding bill notices and amendments. As many of you are aware, bill notices and proposed amendments must now be submitted electronically. All amendments must be filed with the full committee through the corresponding Outlook distribution list. This process will also automatically request a physical memo on your behalf. As in the past, the Finance Subcommittee does not accept verbal amendments. Again, this committee does not accept verbal amendments. The deadline to submit proposed subcommittee amendments will be on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Any questions there? All right, seeing none, we have 4 bills on our calendar today. Item number 1 is House Bill 1440 by Chairman Curcio. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized on House Bill 1440 for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members. Members, this bill, there's a couple of different themes at play here, and I should mention that I worked extensively with law enforcement to make sure that we got the details right on this. But one concept that I know you'll all understand is that our drug problem changes over time. And so what we were very focused on, say, 20 years ago is not necessarily what we're focused on now. We didn't know what fentanyl was just a short time ago, and now fentanyl is the #1 cause of death for Americans over the age of 18, which is shocking to me, especially in the middle of a global pandemic. So this bill addresses that we are treating some drugs that really were a problem years ago much more harshly than we are the drugs that we're really dealing with today. The other thing it does is it raises those thresholds or adjusts those thresholds to acknowledge what are really dealer amounts and what are simple possession or user amounts. What we've learned through the opioid pandemic, unfortunately, is we have a lot of Tennesseans with mental health and substance abuse issues. They are not dealing drugs to anyone. They are hurting themselves. And if we can get them into a diversionary program or something like that, then maybe we can help them with that addiction and get them on the path to recovery. So this bill, again, working in consultation with law enforcement, tries to address those 2 major themes of making sure we're focusing on the drugs that are really the problem in the correct amounts.
All right, thank you, Chairman, for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 1440? Seeing none, this bill does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. However, since this bill has been calendared 3 times, we will need to place it on a special calendar to be published with our final calendar pursuant to House rules. So without objection, House Bill 1440 will go on the special calendar to be published with the final calendar. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman.
Item number 2, also by Chairman Curcio, House Bill 1416. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1416.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm told I need to move an amendment in this committee, and that one is coded 10856.
That's correct. That's what I have. You have a motion. Is there a second? You have a motion and a second. You're recognized for a description on the amendment.
Thank you, and the amendment does make the bill. Members, many of you are familiar, but Tennessee is ranked either number one or near the top as having the best human trafficking laws in the country, but this furthers that effort. So House Bill 1416 continues to keep victims safe and punish criminals to the fullest extent. It makes three substantial changes to the way our human trafficking penalties work now. First, it will punish the trafficking of any minor for a commercial sex act, not just a child under the age of 15, as the law currently stands, as a Class A felony. Second, it will require that anyone committing a human trafficking offense to serve at least 85% of their sentence before release. And third, the amendment will create the new offense of aggravated human trafficking. Anyone who commits a human trafficking offense against a child under the age of 13 will have no release eligibility until they serve 100% of the sentence imposed and will automatically qualify for sentence range enhancement. That's what this bill does. That's why it has a fiscal note. But you can see these are very serious crimes that we're dealing with.
All right, thank you very much. Members, that was the description of the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Representative Ogles, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. And Chairman Curcio, when you were talking about the sentencing, 85% under 13, does that mean if you're trafficking somebody that's 14, 15, 16, 17, you are eligible to get out at a lower? Can you describe that a little bit as far as the sentencing range and your legislation? Thank you.
Chairman Curcio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the question. No, I don't want to conflate the two. So the first bit is punishing the trafficking of any minor for a commercial sex act, not just a child under the age of 15. So that was the only piece that has an age bracket cutoff. The rest of that is anyone committing this offense must serve at least 85% of their sentence and everything else that I said. So it's just that first bit that dealt with the age range.
All right, thank you. Further discussion on Amendment 10856. Great. All right, questions have been called. We're now voting on Amendment 010856 to House Bill 1416. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. We're back on House Bill 1416 as amended. We have heard the description of the bill. Or is there any discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, this bill as amended does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. This bill also has been calendared 3 times, so we will need to place it on the special calendar to be published with our final calendar pursuant to House rule. So without objection, House Bill 1416 will go on the special calendar to be published with the final calendar. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Committee.
All right, item number 3 on our calendar is House Bill 108 by Chairman Hulsey. Sir, you have a motion and a second. You are recognized on House Bill 108. It appears as though there is an amendment that needs to be filed, which is drafting code 012042. Is that what you have?
That is correct, Chairman. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. You are recognized on the amendment.
All the amendment does is change the date to line up with this year because you heard this bill last year.
Okay, you've heard the description. Any discussion? That's the kind of descriptions we like in here. Just make a note of that. Any discussion on the amendment drafting code 012042? Seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment 12042 to House Bill 108. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on House Bill 108 as amended. And you are recognized again, sir, for House Bill 108 as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You heard the bill last year. It's a bill to move Class C to a Class B felony for voluntary manslaughter. And it had a significant fiscal note on it, but we also passed a bill last year to recalculate the way Department of Corrections is funded, and so it would make this note smaller. So we held it off to this year to get the smallest physical note possible. And this is something we actually should have fixed a long time ago for victims of somebody who gets killed.
All right, Chairman Halsey, thank you for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 108 as amended? Seeing none, Chairman, thank you for bringing this bill, and I know you have worked on this bill really hard in the past year and a half, so I commend you for that. And still got a little work to do on it because of the cost. We will have to place it behind the budget. We will consider at a later date. The bill has been calendared 3 times, as the other bills before you have been, so we will have to place it on the special calendar. It'll be published at the end with our final calendar, and that, again, is pursuant to our House rules. So without objection, House Bill 108 will go on the special calendar to be published with the final calendar.
Thank you, Committee and Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, that was item number 3. We're now on item number 4 on our calendar. Item number 4 is House Bill 198. We have received a request to take this bill off notice, so without objection, House Bill 198 is off notice. Members, that does complete our calendar for today, so without objection, we stand adjourned.